Hello friends, and welcome back to another episode. So I'm calling this one Film 2.0. It's back with an exclamation mark, okay? And film is undergoing a huge renaissance, and I'll explain why. My personal reasons that I'm going back to film, not exclusively. I'm still going to do digital, of course, but I'm really going to go back to film in a big way, a huge way. So I'll cover the personal reasons why I'm going back to film, and then I'll introduce some supporting evidence as to why film is making a resurgence. Okay, so it's not just basically my opinion. I'll introduce some evidence as to why it's making a comeback. Okay, so let's cover the first reason for me personally is sensory deprivation. Okay, so let's talk about digital. Okay, this is what you get with digital. This is what your senses get to enjoy with digital photography. This is it. This is the extent of it. This is tactile. There's smell, sight, touch, everything. This is it in a nutshell. This is digital. Now let me show you film. Okay, so this is a roll I did recently, and I'll show you here. You can see these are the negatives, 35mm. And let me show you some shots here. So this is a train. I was shooting a train, the wheels, the springs. This is, you can see, Kodak Tri-X 400. Okay, so I was just having some fun with this, and you can just see the touch, the experience of the touch, and it has a smell. You can smell the chemicals. And here, let me show you here. This is some bracketing I did. Just test bracketing, because I was getting a difference between what the light meter was telling me, incident light, and what the camera was telling me with reflected light. So I'm just doing some bracketing tests here, light meter, incident versus reflected light. But my point is, I was photographing the train and just having a blast with, so you can tell here, this is quite an experience to handle these. This is the laundromat. Okay, let me show you the laundromat. So let me get some focus going on here. So these are the dryers. These are the big dryers. So I wanted to show you the difference in the negative size between 35mm and 6x6 medium format. So you can tell there's a huge difference. But again, it's just the sight. How cool is that? You know, you have the film, and you can see the negative very clearly. It's just a wonderful experience to actually the touch, and again the smell of the chemicals. Okay, so it's a treat to handle the developed film. So let me show you here. I have medium format and 35mm. Okay, this is in the box, of course. Both Kodak Tri-X 400. But let me open these. I'll open these. Okay, and it's just, again, it's just the experience of touching the film. You know, it's a canister that you can get some right there. You know, you can visit. There's the tail, and you can tell this is unexposed because it has a tail. Okay, if it's fully exposed, when you wind it up, it'll go completely back into the cartridge. You won't see this tail. So that's one reason, one way to tell exposed from unexposed film. Okay, so this is the Tri-X 400, and again, it's this touch, the ability to touch it. You know, the tactile experience of touching the film. You know, it's quite nice, and again, it even has a smell to it. So that's 35mm, and I'll show you the 400 roll, or excuse me, the 120 roll, medium format. So this is a roll of 120. Okay. So it's I'll open it just to show you what it looks like if you've never seen medium format film. So this is, I don't want to break the band on it because it'll unravel. So this is, again, 35 versus 120, so you can see the difference here in the roll. Okay, 35mm versus 120. Okay, again, so you can see by the negatives and by the film itself loading this into the camera, it's just fun. It's a fun experience to touch and get the film on the sprocket wheels and advance it and so forth and so on. So that was sensory deprivation. Okay. Next is Ted Forbes, Art of Photography. I cannot thank Ted Forbes enough for all he's done for film photography. He's been quite an advocate for film, and many of his episodes, I mean the vast majority of his episodes, are geared toward film. His TLRs, the Hasselblad, his Rolleiflex and the Flexeret and so forth and so on. His Seraflex. So he does a lot on film cameras, and then he also does a lot on the history of photography and the artists, right? He's got a whole series on photographers, and again, of course, they're old school, so they're going to be film photographers. So Ted Forbes is probably, I would say honestly, about 90% responsible for the resurgence in film. Just his channel, The Art of Photography, and what he's done. He's been probably the most principled advocate of film out there today. And again, I mean this sincerely, he's probably 90% responsible for the resurgence in film, and my most sincere thanks to Ted Forbes. Okay. The next reason I have here is, I watched this, there's a documentary on YouTube. Okay, Steve McCurry is the photographer who shot Afghan Girl in 1984, Sharbat Gula. Okay, so he's the photographer who shot Afghan Girl 1984, and he also did a documentary, The Last Roll of Kodachrome. You can just search that at YouTube, and it's literally the last roll to ever come off the line. And he did a couple portraits with Robert De Niro in New York, and then he flew to India and took a whole bunch of images in India, and the color from the Kodachrome is just bursting with the clothing the Indians wear. So I encourage you to watch that. And I shot Kodachrome back in the 90s, and I absolutely loved it. It was a wonderful film, and Fujifilm comes close to Velvia. If you shoot Velvia 50 ASA, right, it's a nice slow film. You have to bathe it with light, but the colors are just bursting. It's quite similar to Kodachrome, but Kodachrome itself had just a wonderful look. And watching this documentary just made me so hungry to go back to film. So I thank Steve McCurry and Kodak for the documentary. Okay, now let's talk about the camera manufacturers, how responsible they are for the resurgence of film. So the ideal photo, we covered this before, and I'm not going to beat this to death. I assure you I won't. But the average, the premium photo site size along one axis is 6 microns to 8.5 microns. If you square it, it's 36 to approximately 72 square microns. This is the sweet spot for digital photography, where the photo site size should be. Let me show you where we are today. If I can get these unstuck. Okay, right now we're at about 3.9 for about 15 square microns. So you can see here the difference. Let me pull these up a little bit. The difference is quite huge, okay? So we go from 15, you double that, we're actually over double, it's 36, and double it again, 72 square microns. So its ability to gather light and dynamic range, because the larger the photo site size, the more dynamic range you have, okay? And then also just the image quality. The image quality from the larger photo sites is just phenomenal. You come here and the image quality is not that good. Okay, so the camera manufacturers themselves, it's the irony of all ironies, is that they've made the photo site sizes so small that people are just truly unhappy with the current state of digital photography, and they're going back to film. Okay, so again, the photo site sizes are too small. This is just kind of a little crude graph I made. So it's kind of like the point of diminishing returns. What I'm trying to show here is image quality and the photo site size in microns. Okay, so here you have great image quality, a lot of light hitting the sensor, but there's not that much detail. Okay, you come in the photo sites get a little bit smaller, and you hit this sweet spot between 8 and 6 microns where you have a beautiful blend of image quality and detail. Okay, dynamic range. Then here's where we are today. We've tailed off. We're too small in the photo site sizes, so we have detail, but we don't have the image quality. Okay, so either of these are not good. This was the sweet spot, and we don't have it anymore in digital photography. Okay, let's see here. Okay, the cost. So this is now my kind of anecdotal evidence as to why film is making a resurgence. So the cost. Let's cover the cost of the cameras. And this is APS-C, the working man, working woman's rig. Okay, their gear. Now again, most hobbyists or enthusiasts at this point are not into full frame. They're generally into APS-C. Okay, but an APS-C camera, my point, back in 2008, it cost you $450 to get into a camera with 12 to 14 megapixels, and again, that was consumer glass. You could get great images. A Nikon D90, D3100, You're getting excellent image quality for $450. Look where we are today, 2016. Nikon has this D500. Now again, it's the flagship, it's weather sealed, but it was introduced at $3,500, and you can tell already it's not selling. Nikon has already marked it down to $3,100. Why? It's not selling. Family, a person with bills, mortgage, car payment, this is manageable. $450 is manageable. $3,500 is not manageable. Okay, again, I don't want to take this on a digression, a tirade against Nikon, but that whole management staff should be relieved. They're absolute imbeciles, and they need to just go. Okay, but anyways, the camera is 21 megapixels, sub 5 microns. You need pro glass, so this comes with a 16 through 80. It's pro glass to resolve the image. Okay, here consumer level glass can resolve the image. Here you need pro level glass to resolve the image. So we went from $450 to $3,100. People can't afford it. It's pushing people toward film, period. Okay, this is another pretty important one. Kodak just recently reintroduced the Super 8 film camera, motion picture camera. Okay, so film is really making a comeback. Even the Super 8 is making a comeback, and I really have good wishes for Kodak in Rochester, New York. They've been beaten up so badly over these so many years, and the people in Rochester really need good news. They just need an injection of hope. Okay, so and my point is, the camera manufacturers, again, I said they're pushing people toward film. So I have good news for the people in Rochester. I think film is blowing up. It's coming back in a huge way, an absolutely huge way. So again, people of Rochester, don't despair. Good times are on their way back to your city. Okay, so this is more of my anecdotal evidence about filmmaking and resurgence. Okay, just a few years ago, for giggles, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I was on eBay and I looked up my FM2, and in mint condition, these things were going for about $50 because digital was at its zenith. Okay, and so with film cameras, you couldn't give them away. I mean, the mint was going for $50. Just recently, I was looking on eBay for a mint FM2. It's up to $450 now, a 9 times price increase in the FM2. So that shows you prima facie evidence that film is on its way back, because there's now a demand for the old film cameras. Hasselblad 500cm, a few years ago, you could get a clean one, almost minty, for $700. They're now up to $1,300. And the Rolleiflex 2.8F, not too long ago, you could get a clean one, almost minty, for $1,000. If you want a really clean one now, bordering on minty, you're at about $3,000. So look at the price increases here in just probably the last 3 to 5 years. $50 to $450, $700 to $1,300, $1,000 to $3,000, and it's showing you that there's a resurgence in film. Okay, just by the prices. So I have here history. History will record 2008 to 2012 as the golden age of digital, and the reason I say that is for the photo sight size. The photo sight size was between 8.5 and 5 microns. Okay, they got it down to 5 microns. Consumer level glass could resolve those images. Okay, again, I get back to the working man, working woman, college student. They want good photography at a reasonable price. Okay, so a $450 camera was absolutely made to order. It was good to go. $450 is not going to kill you. Now $3,500. What person with a family, with a mortgage, with a car payment is going to pay $3,500 when their $700 smartphone can take awesome images? You know what the answer is? Not too many people. Okay, so again, the camera manufacturers have made the photo sites too small, pushing people toward film. And again, this is the golden age. Like there's a golden age of films, and Hollywood films. People say there's a golden age of Hollywood, there's a golden age of music, and history will record digital photography. The golden age will be recorded is 2008 to 2012. Okay, so those were my personal reasons for going to film. I'm just again, the tactile experience of handling film and the smell. And again, my sincere thanks to Ted Forbes for all he's done for film photography. Deeply indebted to Ted Forbes. So Ted, I thank you very much. And that's about the end of this video. And I encourage you to explore film. Okay, just go on eBay and get yourself a nice used Canon AE1 or an old Olympus film camera. You know, I would personally suggest trying to find something from the 70s and 80s because it's still going to be fairly new. The mechanical condition will still be pretty good. The cost should be fairly, you know, fairly reasonable for a 1970s, 1980s 35mm film camera. Try to find a clean one. Again, a Canon, Olympus, Nikon, and 35mm film. It's pretty reasonable. You can, even if you don't want to do the dark room at home, you can send them off for $5.99 a roll. You can get them developed. And what I did is I got a Epson V600 scanner. I scan all my negatives and I turned them into digital images. The scanner is only $200 brand new. It's a V600. It's called Epson V600. And you scan your images, digitize them, and so you really have like basically a, and that's what I mean about, and this is another thing I wanted to cover. I forgot to even cover it. So now, so if you get a medium format film camera, this is medium format again, 6x6 negative, 6cm by 6cm basically. If you get this and scan it, you have a medium format digital image at high resolution. Okay, if you choose the high resolution to scan it at. So I don't see the logic in buying a $20,000, $30,000 medium format, digital medium format camera for $20,000, $30,000 when you can get one for a nice one for $1,000, and you just, or $400. My Mamiya, and I have some other cameras for $400 in mint condition, and you just scan the negatives and you have a beautiful digital print. Okay, so that's the answer to a $30,000 camera. You get a $400 film camera, a $200 Epson V600 scanner, and you scan the images and turn them into digital images. Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate you watching this video, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.